Hey, I'm Carrie Hill. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I just started adding some videos to my YouTube channel, so I'm definitely new at all this. But today's video is going to be about how I decided to start up van life, and I have not started yet. This is the very beginning. This is before I even have got into the van. This is going to be all about the van and how I chose it and why I chose to start thinking about van life. And it actually started back in 2020 during COVID. I started working remotely, as a lot of people did at that time. And I was like, if I'm working from home, I could work anywhere. I don't have to stay at home to be able to do the job that I do as long as I have good internet service. I was like, I could travel and go anywhere. So I started looking into Class A's and Class B's and Class C's, and there was so much information and so many things to think about. It was a little overwhelming at the beginning, for sure, back then. Class A's, the big RVs, I really love the space because they're huge and it's just like having a house on wheels, but I can't drive something that big, and that was my biggest thing with that. It was like, no, I would not feel comfortable. I would be absolutely terrified of running things over, running people over. Just too much anxiety about having something that big. So that Class A was out. But then it came down to the Class B's and the Class C's, and there are a lot of different options for both of those, and that was overwhelming. I had an F-150 at one point, and I actually loved that Ford truck a lot. I only had it for a year, but it was great, and I was like, well, I could pull a trailer behind the truck and then have access to be able to go where I wanted to go when I ended up at my destinations, and have a vehicle I wouldn't have to take with me. But then campers and the things that you pull behind your truck, there's certain things that you have to do to those to prepare them at each place that you go to, and that didn't seem like something I wanted to do. And then there's a lot of other options, and van was one of them, just having a van, and I decided that probably would be the best option for me. But then just life things changed. I never could really figure out what would be the best. Plus another problem then was, would I be able to get signal? Because I have to be able to use the internet from anywhere I go, because I see people virtually, and I cannot drop calls or video calls. I have to be able to have that without skips and not being able to hear, or things happening, or drop calls and things like that. That's not good, especially when you're in session and if somebody's having a crisis, or just talking in general. You don't want to have disruptions while you're having a conversation with somebody. And at the time, I knew about boosts and signals and things like that and hotspots, but it still wasn't something that you could get to in a lot of spots. I have a lot of patients in West Virginia, and they have terrible signal. I feel some of those folks, really hard for them to have virtual visits, especially the ones who are really mountain areas. So it was a challenge at the time too. Like, how will I be able to actually work and be able to run the technology and the things that I need to do for my job while I'm in a van? So I did decide, we are now 5 years later, and I did decide that this year I started looking back into it again. And I've decided on a van, and you had to look at the three big ones to choose from, which was the Mercedes Sprinter, the Ford Transit, and the Dodge Ram. And I'm a Ford girl. I had a Mustang for 15 years, which I absolutely loved, a Mustang convertible. I miss it. That was fun. I've had Ford Explorer. My family's had Ford Expeditions. I've had a Sport Track. Just all around, have always really enjoyed Fords. And another big thing about making the decision for Ford was because if I needed repairs done, I wanted to be able to have them not have to drive a long way, because I have listened to other people say that you need a Mercedes, might have to drive 3 or 4 hours to get to somewhere that can help you, because their parts just aren't, it's not as Ford. So I did not want to have any issues with that, and that was a big reason why. The Mercedes are very nice. Like, if I wanted to be super bougie, that would have been something that I probably would have chosen. But I'm very And Ford is definitely better option for repairs and getting parts and not having to wait and things like that. So I went with Ford. I've never owned a new car. I've never purchased a brand new car. I've always had the hand-me-downs, or always been a couple years old or even older. When I got my Mustang, it was a 4 years old. There was one person that had it before me. She took really good care of it, and it lasted for her for 4 years, and it lasted for me for 15 years. So was very happy with that car, and it took a long time for me to part with it because I really didn't want to. So that was something that was really important, was to figure out the kind of vehicle I wanted, because you can't do it until you figure out what you want. So I finally figured that out. And so after 2020, I did end up, like people, went back into the office about a year and a half later. I think it was I went back into the office. So traveling wasn't going to be on the table at that time because I was having to work in the office 2 days a week. So I had to stay close to home and wouldn't be able to travel often. So last year in May of 2024, I opened my own mental health practice as a solo provider. So it's just me. I don't have anybody helping me, or I'm doing everything on my own. And that's been a huge experience in and of itself, as being a business owner and taking care of all the stuff that I'm not used to, because I'm only used to the clinical side of things, and now I'm learning the administrative and the business and the what in the world, all these things that you have to learn. CFO, basically the person who does everything, and they don't teach you this stuff in school. You have to learn this stuff on your own. So when I started in May of last year, it took me a year to get really grounded and get going on what it looks like to be working for myself and what my schedule looked like, and would be doing things. And I finally got that really down pat in May of this year. It took a year to get stable and steady with what I was doing and comfortable with it. And now, past probably, I would say probably 4 or 5 months, I've been doing a lot of research on van life, a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of the van lifers that I really like to follow. They have a lot of good information. It's so helpful, and hoping that I can be helpful too. And just starting out, so it's probably going to be a little miss in the beginning, but that's okay. I want people to be able to hear people's stories, because it only helps if you're thinking about something like this, because it's a big step. And so this video is going to go over, the rest of the video is going to go over the van, going to go over the website, the Ford website, because you can actually create your own van. Is a 2026 model, so they don't have that up yet. I'm assuming that might not update on their website until time, but we're going to jump into it. Okay, let's go over this van build. So I went to the Ford website here, and I have that pulled up. Here you see a picture of the 2025 Transit. My Transit will be a 2026, but they don't have the 2026 up and running yet. I did see that they do have an actual 2026 on the lot at our local Ford, so I'm sure that we'll update this website at some point, but as of now, we have the 2025 version. So we're just going to try to use this and get it as close to what I've done for mine. But you can go to the build and price to start building your van out the way that you want it. And so I went to, let's view the models here. The difference between the passenger vans and the cargo vans is that the passenger vans are going to have the seats, the rows of seats in them, and they're also going to have the windows. So that's how you know that, this is taking people places, a lot of people at one time. It says seating for 15, and so that's not what we want. So I got the cargo van. So we're going to build and price that. There were so many options to choose from, and it was so many questions I had, and it literally took 3 weeks between going back and forth to the dealership. And then after I found the guy who's going to help me build out my van, asking him questions as well about what I should do. But here we go with the cargo van, and the wheelbase is 148 feet. Or is that inches? Who knows? All right. And anytime you make a change, of course, they're going to want to confirm your change, because that's going to add, oh, I forgot to show you. So this is the regular, the 130. And then if we go to 148, it usually tells you, oh, because we're changing back. Okay. So I did the 148, and of course that's going to add cost to it. So that's going to add 5,600, confirm change. And I went with the high roof because I want to have as much storage as possible. And I went with the, let's see, 9,500. So this one. And I didn't do the extended. Okay, so another question was between, should you get the regular, should you get the long, or should you get the extended? So that's something you have to ask yourself. If you do the regular, of course, that's not going to give you a lot of space on the inside, but it's going to be very easy to park. If you do the long, then you're going to have more space, but not as much as you could with the extended. So it's almost like, I think 2 feet longer for the long, and then it's 4 feet longer for the extended. Don't quote me on that, but that was what I was kind of reviewing when I was looking at it. But I think that with the extended, it's going to make it a little too long to park, or it's going to be a little bit more challenging to park, and probably going to take up the entire and maybe even go over a little bit on parking. And also you got to think about turn radius and things like that. So I decided, even though having more space would be nice, especially with having me and my 2 dogs, it would be nice, but I want to make sure I can drive this thing easily and park it easily. And so I decided just to go with the long. And the next thing that I had to try to figure out was, do I want the just the V6, or do I want the EcoBoost? I never really got a good conclusion on that, but I just decided to go with the regular and not the EcoBoost. I did, hear that this was a little bit harder to manage and take care of, so I decided not to do that part. Then, of course, it's a 10-speed transmission. I went with the all-wheel drive because I do plan to be going in some places that I'm probably, going to need to be able to maneuver around a little bit more with van life than just a regular. And that added 3,900. Now, of course, these prices are going to be a little bit more for the 2026. Not much, but, they always go up in prices. And then here are some of the axle options. I don't think I changed anything on that. I did want to go with a dual alternator, but I don't think we did that because I don't know if you have to have the EcoBoost to do that or not, but we just decided to leave that off. And when I say we, it was after I asked both Ford and the van guy, and I'll introduce him later. And here we go with the package and things that you can add to it. So there are some options on here that I did decide to go with. One of them was definitely the RV prep package. And if you go beside of the information, that's going to tell you more about what that offers. So for the RV prep package, that's going to give us modified wiring. It's going to give the trailer tow package, swivel chairs for both the driver's side and the passenger side which is a must. You need to be able to move and turn around unless you're going to have something directly behind your seat, which I don't plan to have anything behind the driver's side seat. So I definitely want to be able to swivel around and use that as a workspace. I'll have a couple of different workspace options in the van. One of them will be, sitting in the front and then being able to swivel around. And then one will be a couch area. And then, of course, if I wanted to sit in the bed, I could, but that's probably not going to be the most comfortable. And then I'll have an outside option where I'll be able to set up a table and everything outside and be able to work outside, which is going to be really nice. Look forward to that. Don't get to do that right now. And it also adds a lot of the intelligent type things and digital camera. Front bumper will be the same as the body color. Fog lamps, speakers. So that is all the stuff that will be added. And that does bump it up a little bit. Here's another bump up to $4,665. So let me click that. We did go with the exterior package upgrade for the outside. And what that does is gives us the black HID lamps, wiper activated headlamps, front fog lamps, honey mesh grill. Some of this stuff is just to make it look better. And that was $440. The upfitter switches, large center console, fuse panel, dual batteries, and modified vehicle wiring system. So for the body paint, I went with the carbonized gray metallic. I like that one better. The black was pretty cool because you could, do things, especially with the metallic black, but I definitely didn't want yellow because I don't want to stand out, not like that brightly. So the carbonized gray seemed like the best option for me. The wheels, I didn't make a decision on the wheels. I'm just going to go with the standard of what they use because that's probably going to be a build out that the van builder will do because I'm going to have, the system to where it's going to be easier to off-road. So a lot of that stuff is going to have to be changed whenever we decide to do, or whenever we get to that part of it. A lot of this was hard to figure out at first what part needs to be done by Ford in the beginning and what part needs to wait. At first I thought I should have windows. I definitely want windows all over the van, but that's something that needs to be done after Ford is done because I want bump outs here on the back and I want windows that open. So those things will have to be done by the van builder. I do want a running board, but I want one that opens whenever you open the door and then goes back underneath when you close the door. So I did not get Ford's running board. The tinted glass, I don't think we did that. I don't know right now what I'm going to do for glass. I've been watching some of the YouTube channels say that you could get the glass that doesn't break or it's really hard to break. So I've been thinking about that, and I'll probably wait when we start doing the conversion. Okay, for the mirrors, we did go with the long arm power heat just in case we're in cold places and we need the ice to melt off. Sometimes that even happens where I live in North Carolina, and it's aggravating when you can't see out your little windows on the side.
Also, I got the extended fuel tank. That is going to add a lot. I want to say the one for the 2026 is I want to say a 35 gallon. No, 30, it's 31. So it's the same, 31 gallon. And regular parking brakes. I did go with I thought I went with the remote start, but it looks like I did the keyless entry pad. I believe that's everything. The swivel chairs were already included with the package. A lot of the stuff was already stuff that will be coming with it through the upgrades that I had done. So that's what it's going to look like. And then this here is what the actual thing that we had to go over and over and over again to make sure that I had everything I wanted. And at this point, I'm just hoping and praying that I did everything that I wanted and I got everything that I needed, because this is a big step in, getting on the road. And I'm so excited about all that, upcoming travel and things I'll be able to do. And, it's hard sometimes when we are so excited about something and we're just really ready for it. And, but we have to wait, have to be patient. So that is all for now.
Well, I don't think that I've introduced this little booger yet. This is my nephew, my brother's dog, Jojo. He is a Chihuahua mix, and if you see his coloring, he looks like a corgi to us, but we got his DNA done and he has no corgi in him. But he is a sweet Chihuahua. He does not get excited. He's very super laid back, and I've never been a Chihuahua fan. I don't prefer tiny dogs, but I really like Jojo. He's sweet. So he does not like being held. So this is why he's got his ears down and he wants to leave. But so as a closer for this video, I just wanted to, kind of go over how, the feelings and stuff that I get whenever I see people on van life. It's so exciting. Like I love nature, and that's my healing, and the way that I kind of deal with things is like, it helps my mental health immensely to go hiking and kayaking and all things, nature. I love animals. Of course, you'll be able to tell that by all the animals I have. But I also love going to zoos, and I love big animals as well. I love all God's creatures, and that is the best part about van life, is being out in nature. And it's so exciting. I get so excited to see the places that some of these people get to go to. They're just so beautiful, and I'm hoping that I'm going to have that same excitement when I get to do it myself. So that's one of my reasons for wanting to do this. Like, I take care of people's mental health every day, and I want to be able to take care of mine too, in ways that I know that really help me. And nature is the big thing. And when I named my company last year, RoadTrip to Recovery, I never really thought it was going to come full circle with van life, but it makes complete sense. Like, I definitely feel like we take different roads in life, and you never know what road and where it's going to take you. You never know where life is going to take you. So being on this journey to van life is super exciting. I know it's going to be a while. They haven't started on my van, and they won't start on it until November the 3rd. I got an email, and they're going to keep me updated. So that, that's exciting. Ford will be starting on it soon, and then after it's built, then it has to go to the van guy that will be doing the conversion. So that'll be another, month. So we're definitely looking at 6 months or more before I get on the road, but that's okay. I would say to people, if you are considering or if you want to travel, don't wait until retirement age. Do not. That's not smart, because when we get older, our body changes, and we can't do the things that we did when we were younger. And you can't wait until you get older to do things. You have to, try to find a good way to do it while you're young, because if you don't feel like it, of course you can still be healthy and still be active and still be able to do things, but you might not be able to do everything that you do when you were younger. So, not waiting to live life till retirement. I've seen so many people, especially in my field, who worked their whole life, and then they started having medical problems, and one thing led to another, and they weren't able to, do the things that they wanted to do, that they had worked their whole life, to get to the point where they had more time and they were able to go places, but then they didn't feel like it. And it's like, I don't want that to happen to me. I've seen that a lot, and I'm not about that. I want to be able to live life while I physically still can, hike up mountains and can, do all the things that I want to do. So I'm really looking forward to getting started. Still going, hiking locally, not really going on trips to go to places, but still get out in nature now, of course. And I invite you to follow me, subscribe and follow along with my journey, because it's going to be fun. My dogs will be with me, and I'm going to, of course, have a lot of dog videos too. There's already been quite a few of those popped up. And, if you have any questions, or if you've ever thought about van life, leave a comment and let me know. What do you think? Do you think that it's crazy? Like, why would people want to do that? Like, travel all over the world? Or is it something that you've dreamed of too? Like, going different places. We live in such a beautiful country. Have you ever thought about going to all the places in it? And, I would love to hear from you, and just let me know. And I'm thankful to be here and start this channel up. And y'all have a great day. Jojo, say bye. Say bye, Jojo. We say bye.